welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Another week, another review, and this week we will be reviewing episode 7, season 4 of Ready to Love. So let's get straight into the video. So this week's episode starts out in the men's lounge, and as we know, the power is back with the men. And so Uncle Tommy lets them know that the task for the week is to take their first pick, or the person who they're most connected with, and set up a date between them and a friend or family member so that they can get the feedback from, loved ones to get the impression that this person makes on them. So first up, we see Joel, and his date is set up in his home with his 2 brothers and a female friend of his, and of course Vernicia, which is of no surprise to us because we know that's his number 1 pick. And so naturally they all sit down around the table, they get talking, and basically the friends start asking Vernicia a little bit about herself, and the conversation started to flow. But while speaking, Vernicia reveals that she is quite territorial, and she did reveal to us in her confessional that she knew about the kiss between Joel and Amber, and she wasn't really pleased with that, and that's mainly because she's quite territorial. She feels like what's for her is for her. And so the friends were asking her about that, and she said even though that's the nature of the game, the show, that being the case, she still sees Joel as, I guess, her person because their connection is the strongest, and she feels like everyone else knows that too. She also went on to reveal that she sees or hopes that they're going to be the first couple from Ready to Love to actually get married. I mean, if you asked me, it was coming on a bit strong. I get that she was being honest, but Anyway, she eventually leaves because the conversation wasn't long at all, at least what they showed us of it. And naturally, Joel started asking his friends what do they think. And like I suspected, the friends said that they like her. However, they did see a couple red flags. One being the fact that she is quite territorial, which means that they kind of view it as she could be quite clingy. And his remark was like, oh, okay, so I just wanted to know if I was just tripping, which means that he also felt that way. So I don't think it went the best for Vernicia, but I don't think it went horribly. So we'll see what goes on from there. Simultaneously, we are seeing Chris, who has set up a bit of a podcast date. I guess he did his podcast in his radio station, and then after perhaps just invited Amber. So it's him, Chris, 2 of his closest friends, and Amber. And so everything is still set up like it's at a podcast. He has on, the whole gear and everything. And so she comes in, they all greet each other. The friends start asking her about herself. Of course, she reveals all personal details that we have come to know already. She's a DA, blah, 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 all of that. So as the conversation goes on, they start asking her a bit more personal questions about herself and whether or not she has shared the information about Chris with her friends and family. So we find out that no, she has not. And I think they saw this as a bit of a little bit of a red flag or a bad sign. But Chris was able to, kind of intervene and say that he understands, because up until this moment, he didn't tell anybody about Amber either. And for him, he gets it, because remember, in this game, just because you have a connection with someone doesn't mean you're going to end up with them. So he understands it from that point of view, that she would like something to be secure before going ahead and sharing it with her friends and family. So as the conversation went on, of course, they showed that they had a natural rapport. They asked her, they being the friends, asked her, like, what is it that she likes about him? She said that she likes that everything is natural with them. She feels comfortable when she's around him. She trusts that she can be open. And so once she leaves, of course, Chris asked them what is their impression. They really liked Amber, and they said that they can tell that there is definitely a natural connection between them, because even when she was leaving, they had like a genuine hug. Their laugh seems genuine. And so I would say things are on the up and up for Chris and Amber, and feelings are definitely mutual. And I think if things continue this way, these 2 will be one of the final couples. So the next date we see is Jason, and it's a bit of a, I want to say somewhat of a lounge setting, and he's there with 2 of his closest friends, male and female. And in comes walking Liz, which I was really surprised because I was so sure that, oh, it was gonna be Kyra, but then wait, Kyra comes walking in also. And I'm like, okay, so it's Liz, Kyra, Jason, and his two closest friends. I must say, I do not think this is a good idea, but I guess he has a plan. Maybe he just wants to knock both of them out all at once, because I would have preferred if this was two separate dates. Anyway, so everyone gets to talking. They sit down at a table and they're talking to one another, and of course the attention is a bit split. So they start talking to Kyra first, asking her a bit about herself and what is it exactly that she expects from her relationship with, within the role of a man, what she expects. And she says for her, one of the most serious things is that the man is the lead of the household. She finds that within the community, a lot of times women are the lead of the household, and she said for her, like, this is a must. Like, she highlighted it, that's something that she really wants. Interjects Liz. Liz says for her that is also the case, but she said she wants a spiritual lead of the household. I must say Liz does come across a little bit preachy. We understand that she's Christian and she's grounded in that, which is great. But then after that, she went on, oh, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and then went on about her date with Jason, and was saying he was able to quote such and such scripture, and I don't know, it became a little bit after after a while. Like, the more she spoke, I was like, okay, Liz. In my head, I was like, wrap it up, Liz, But anyway, she really likes him, and the friends, of course, painted a wonderful picture of him. And eventually Liz says she has to go. She really was not there for a very long time. These dates that they're showing us are very, very short. Kyra stays back a little bit just a little bit longer than Liz, and they asked her, like, I think one more question. And basically, she was just reaffirmed that he was a solid guy. That's what she said to us in her confessional when she was leaving. And so naturally, Jason asked them, being his friends, what they thought of both women. And in a nutshell, they both really liked Kyra because they find that she was more relaxed, she was more approachable, more down to earth. They thought Liz was sweet, but not for Jason, which is exactly what I got from the date as well. They said she seems a bit stiff. I guess they don't find that she's as relaxed as Kyra is, because Kyra was quite relaxed and confident and spoke from a very natural place. Liz was very spiritual based. Everything was about Jesus and scripture and whatever, which is not a bad thing. It's just, for Jason, he does not give off that vibe at all. I think right now he's just enamored with the way Liz looks, but I don't think what is mainly important to her is mainly important to Jason. So yeah, that's basically what the friends said, and they both agreed that Kyra would be a better fit for him. So apparently Kyra was really busy, because after she left that date, the next date we saw was her and AJ and two of AJ's closest friends, and they were at somewhat of like a volleyball hangout. So they played a bit of volleyball before, and then after the game they all went to sit down and started talking to get to know each other. And of course the friends asked Kyra again about herself, and she reveals all the personal details that we've heard before. And then she asks them if they see that AJ is someone who might be ready to love right now, because of course we know that a lot of the women thought that he might just be a playboy and not be ready for anything serious. And of course, being his friends, they talked him up. They said yes, he's definitely ready for something serious. They've seen the changes in him. He was happy, and he said that he is in a good space with her. And of course, when he asked his friends what do they think, they said that they see potential there and they think that she really would like to be with him. However, her guard is up. So I guess we have to see exactly where things are going with Kyra and AJ. As of now, I would say AJ is far more invested, whereas Kyra is still 50-50 or maybe 60-40 between him and Jason. Next up, we see Ronald, Chrysanthemum, Alexis, and two of Ronald's friends at what looks like a club or a lounge. And guys, the pettiness starts out the gate, because we have Chrysanthemum on one side, Alexis on the other side, and Chrysanthemum starts rubbing on Ronald's leg, asking him if he likes this, which I'm assuming is her outfit, which is like a jumpsuit outfit with some holes in the side. And right away we have Alexis telling us in her confessional that just nitpicking, sounding oh so just full of hate about Chrysanthemum's outfit. Like, I don't know what she got on. Why would she wear that to come and meet his friends? I don't know why she's so concerned about what Chrysanthemum is doing. And she continues like that throughout the whole date. Anyway, eventually the friends start asking each of them questions. At first it was Alexis, and she was handling the questions well. They're asking her about herself, if she would be able to travel a lot because that's something Ronald likes to do. And of course she's like, yeah, I can, because I have a village and they can take care of my son, blah 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 blah. And then Chrysanthemum on the opposite side, when they start asking her questions, we find that she's just dropping like one or two words at a time. She's not being very conversational. So like the female friend asked her like, what about her? She's like, yeah, I'm a flight attendant, that's it. And then the male friend asked her if she would want kids. She was like, I'm open. That's literally it. No expansion, no nothing. So cut to Alexis's confessional, and she's like, oh, she doesn't have to work too hard. She's not even she doesn't have to work too hard to answer the questions, blah blah blah. And she's right, no doubt, but it seems like she's so focused on what Chrysanthemum's approach is, and I guess she feels a little bit, when you feel like somebody doesn't have to work as hard as you because maybe they're prettier or younger, or they don't have as much baggage, because remember, she has the son, and that's the vibe Alexis is giving off, rather than just being focused on herself. Anyway, there were two different women, because like Chrysanthemum was not trying too hard, and eventually in her confessional she lets us know that the reason why she was being like that is because she doesn't like the interview style of questions where she feel like she's being interrogated. She would rather to just talk to Ron and things come out organically, and while they're having fun and getting to know each other. Whereas Alexis was like, she's ready for the questions, she wants them to know that she can handle herself, and she was just, it's almost like she pre-rehearsed possible questions that could come up because she had answers for everything. So eventually, once Chrysanthemum wasn't feeling the vibe, she left, and then Alexis stayed back a little bit longer, and her and the friends continued on that same wavelength of them asking questions, her answering general questions that we've heard before, and answers that we already know about her son, her life, her history, if she's been married before, that kind of thing. And so when the date ends, of course, Ron wants to know from his friends, who do they prefer, and they both said that they prefer Alexis's personality because she's more confident and more outgoing, whereas Chrysanthemum, kind of just gave them not enough. And of course, at the end, Ron says he's still confused. At this point, I think Ron wants to be confused, because for weeks now he's been saying Alexis is his number one, and here we are, you meet with two of your closest friends and they confirm that she is the better pick. So I'm not understanding what the confusion is about, but he says he's still confused. Oh my. Next up, we cut to David and his two friends, male and female, and of course he invited Liz to his date. And these are two people that I thought were, or had the most potential in terms of how they connect and their viewpoints, things that they like. However, this date might have changed things, because the date starts out with, of course, Liz comes in, introduces herself to the friends. They liked her, they asked her the basic things, and David already kind of gave them like a little bit of a backstory, like, oh, she's so and so years old, she wants to be married, she's never been married, never had any kids. So we got all of that covered, and then they get to the heart of things where they start talking about what both of them would like. So we know Liz, obviously she would like to be married, and David spoke to us about in his confessional that what he liked about her was, I guess, her honesty, because when she went on her date with Jason, rather than waiting for him to find out from somebody else that her and Jason shared a moment where they kissed, she called him the same evening and let him know, because she didn't want him to find out from anybody else. And she also revealed to him that he was still her number one. You would think that would make him feel good, but for him, he revealed to us that that actually slowed things down for him a bit. Cut to Liz, and Liz is telling us that at this point, because the friends asked her if she's okay with taking things slow, because apparently David wants to take things slow. So Liz was just saying that at this point she feels like you know whether or not you like her or not, and she feels like she's given him enough grace, enough space, and she's been patient enough, and at this point she would like for him to make a decision, which I think I'm on her side. Like, it is time, because they have so much in common, and let's be honest, they're not spring chickens. Like, they're both in their 40s, and like I said, she still wants to be married, she still wants to have kids. And I'm not really sure what's going on with David, but for whatever reason, even a lot of the questions that his friends were asking him prior to Liz showing up, his answer to a lot of the things were, I don't know, I'm not sure. It's like, why are you here if you're not sure? Why are you here if you don't know? And so that's what Liz said in her confessional to us, the audience, that at this point she doesn't want to be strung along. She would like to know, because she feels like at this point you would know if you like her or not, especially since they're, grown people. So I would say he has about this much time left, because for me, the way she spoke, it's as though she's running out of patience. She fully knows that she would like to be committed to him, or that she would choose him based on what she has said, but it seems like he's the one tiptoeing around, like he's unsure of what he wants. So I really thought these two were going to make it to the end, but as of this date, I must say I'm not sure. So again, we see Jason and Kyra meeting up for another date. I'm guessing after his date with her, Liz, and his friends, they were able to help him to make a decision. So the date that they're having is at an art gallery of a friend of his, and he's letting us know that he is that guy who is romantic, and he wants to be able to show Kyra that side of him. And so he has planned everything out. He has roses and all that good stuff. Eventually they get inside, they spend some time looking at the art, talking to each other, discussing the art, and they're very giggly, especially Kyra. You can tell that she's very into Jason, because she's very giggly with everything that they say. After looking around at the art a bit, they sit down together and the serious conversation starts, and she asks him if he can see her as someone serious, and without any hesitation he says absolutely. So he absolutely sees this as something serious, and then he reveals that he's very serious about her. In fact, he sees that they could absolutely have a relationship together, and as a matter of fact, he doesn't even want to continue looking. Like, he made it sound like this is it for him, like he's very settled on Kyra. And of course, she's very happy to hear that, and she reveals to us, unfortunately, in her confessional, that she really does like Jason. She sees him as a gentleman. She sees him as someone who she can be herself with, and she enjoys their connection. Unfortunately, she's still a bit torn, because she also feels she has a strong connection with Jason. But that doesn't mean their date went badly, because after he revealed how he felt, they did finally share a kiss. And like I said, she was very giggly, very smiley, and I'm guessing they went on like that for the rest of the night. But that's where it ends for us, because that's all we see. So after that date, we go back to the men's lounge, and of course it's time to deliberate with Tommy, and you know the drill by this point. So the men begin sharing their experiences that they've had with the dates that they've set up with during the week. So it starts out with Joel sharing his experience with Vernicia. As we discussed, we know how that went. So he's just relaying how everything went, his doubts, blah, blah, blah. And then Jason spoke about his experience on the date with both Kyra and Liz with his friends, and he shares with the group of men how that went, as well as Ron did the same. But then things get serious, and Tommy asks straight up, like, if things were to end right now, who would be the person that you would leave with today? And so the men begin to reveal, and I wrote it down because it's a lot. So we have AJ, who said Kyra, Joel, who out of nowhere says Kyra, and we're all confused, but he said he had a misunderstanding with Vernicia last night on the phone, and I guess with how the date went and him and his friends feeling like she might be too clingy, I guess he's starting to become very unsure about where they stand. But I still think Kyra was a weird name for him to say, because we've never seen any interaction with him and Kyra. So maybe they're talking to each other behind the scenes, but we haven't seen any interaction with them. Anyway, let me continue. David, who also we have not seen with any interaction with anyone really besides Liz, says Kyra. And I believe this is just because Liz went on a date with Jason. I'm getting the vibe like Jason is annoyed that Liz made a connection with somebody else, and it's starting to come across like he's trying to punish her for it. So he says Kyra, which mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. And David's real personality is really starting to come out. After that, Jason, by the way, looks pissed when David said Kyra, because he was just like, what are y'all doing? You're like, why are you guys calling this woman's name? This is somebody I have a serious connection with. Anyway, Ron says Alexis, which we know. Chris says Amber, which we know. And now the men are starting to question in the lounge whether or not their connections with Kyra is actually genuine, because they're beginning to wonder, like, how is it possible that she has had so many connections? Because, like we know, 4 men have said her name. So after that, then Tommy asks who are the weakest links, because those were the names of the people who they liked. And I believe it was Ron that said Liz. And AJ actually co-signed that Liz is a weak connection for him as well. And then Chris, Joel, and Jason all say Chrysanthemum. And Chris said the main reason was he doesn't feel like she's ready to connect. Jason says he tries to speak to her, but she never really gets back to him. Or if she does, it's like, I guess, hours or days later. So I guess he feels like there's no interest there. As well as Joel was like, he was talking to her and she was basically like, she feels like she would be worried about dating him because he has kids and his focus would be on his kids. And he found that to be, I guess, a turn off, because obviously she needs all the attention on her. That's basically the consensus of the men's lounge, because afterwards everybody basically chimed in and started to agree that that's the vibe they're getting from her, that she's all about her. And Chris co-signed that by saying that she said she doesn't want somebody who has anything else going on. Like, she wants somebody who's fully focused on her, which is not very realistic. So that being the case, there's no surprise that in the end, Ron has to meet with Liz and Chris has to meet with Chrysanthemum, which means those are the 2 ladies in the bottom. And right away, Chrysanthemum is giving us a vibe when she meets with Chris. Like, he's asking her, complimenting her, and she's like, yeah, okay. He's complimenting her about her cologne, and she's like, she's giving off a real stank vibe. So cut to her confessional, and she was like, the reason for that was because she already knew why she was there. She feels like she was there to be corrected on, oh, do this, do that. And yeah, she's not one for that. So that's the reason why she was acting like that. Then cut to Liz and who was it, Ron? And Ron was just telling Liz that, the men feel like she's a very nice person, but she just needs to open up a bit more and stop being stiff. And Liz was not feeling that at all. She looked quite annoyed by that statement because she felt like she has been quite open. She said something like, this is me, I've been completely authentic. And so she was just very irritated by that whole notion that she has not been forthcoming, which I think is just something they were saying because they don't want to just flat out be like, okay, nobody's really feeling a genuine connection with you. Because remember, David did not mention her name this week. And then we cut back to Chris and Chrysanthemum, and Chris starts telling her that, one of the major reasons, the whole phone thing with the guys not responding, and she feels like, whatever, it's not really something to vote her out for, because she feels like that's something that guys do to girls all the time. And her exact statement was, guys really don't be liking it when you give them back their own medicine. I don't think the point is really sinking in with her. Anyway, Chris tells her that he does think she is ready to love, but it's just her attitude is not giving that vibe. So because of that, the guys have decided that she isn't ready to love, and ultimately she was voted off. She took it really well. She was just like, it's fine. She said it's okay, but she went on about how she feels like that's a stupid reason for the guys to vote her off because she's not responding to texts, because that's just, it has to do with her lifestyle, whatever that means. Anyway, she goes home and Liz gets to stay. And that was the end of the episode. In next week's episode, we see Tommy telling the women that they have to introduce the men to one of their exes, which is always a bad idea, but okay then, let's go do that. Let's ruin our relationships. And as we can see, we saw some clips of Jason looking like he's having doubts after talking to Kyra's ex. Liz and David seem to are gonna fall out because they were arguing. And it seems like AJ and Alexis will reconnect, and Jason and Liz will also reconnect. So let's see what happens next week. And until then, see you guys.